everyone, this is Elise here of Plan with Elise, and today is going to be a budgeting chat. I'd really like to do more of these front-facing videos where I get to just chat with you and talk about all things budgeting, and maybe there'll be more topics, but for now we are going to talk about budgeting. So today's topic is about sinking funds. I often see people ask, what are sinking funds? So I want to help talk about what they are and clarify any questions that I've seen there, and also common mistakes that I see with sinking funds, how to go about starting it, how to keep track, how to use sinking funds, and all of that. So simply put, a sinking fund is something that you save up for that you know is coming. There are two really good examples that I like to focus on. One of them is an expense that you know is coming, like an Amazon Prime membership renewal. That is like $119 a year. So the idea is that for a set amount of months, it can be 12 months, it can be 6, it can be 3, you put aside a specific amount of money specifically for that membership renewal, so that when the membership renewal does come up, you already have that money set aside and you're not trying to figure out where in your budget you can pull that money from. So if you have an Amazon Prime membership, you'll know exactly when that date is going to be. I think for me, it's like November 1st or something. And another example along those lines is Christmas or Hanukkah or the holidays. You always know when you need that money by. So if you have a set amount of time to start to save that money, you'll know that by the time Christmas or Hanukkah or like Black Friday, if that's when you do your shopping, whenever your shopping is done, you'll set a deadline, or when your shopping needs to be done by, you'll set a deadline, and then the money is ready for you. The other type of sinking fund is something that you know you're going to need, you just don't have a date for it yet. So a good example of that may be car maintenance. So if you own a car or you lease a car, you're going to probably need to replace something at some point. Maybe it'll be a tire, maybe it'll be brakes. Also, if you're a homeowner, there are going to be home maintenance expenses. So the idea is that you save money every month or every week, however often you get paid, so that when one of those things happens, it's not so challenging to your finances or your budget. I kind of describe it as like a gift card for car maintenance. So if I need to replace a tire, well, I already have this amount of money put aside specifically for my car. So if something comes up, I'm ready for it and I'm prepared for it. So those are the basics of what a sinking fund is. There's all kinds of categories that you can save for in a sinking fund, which brings me to my next point, are the biggest mistakes that I see when people first learn about sinking funds. So the biggest mistake is someone learns about a sinking fund and they make a list of all of the different things to save for, and then because of that, like let's say you have 20 things between home maintenance, car maintenance, Amazon membership renewal, Costco renewal, clothes, vacation, a party, Christmas. There's so many different categories. Planning, some people have a planning sinking fund. When you have so many of those and you're trying to figure out where you can allocate money in your budget for each, it can be hard to make a dent in any of them. And I see that all the time as people comment that they're not able to see any growth in their sinking funds, or when they need the money, it's not as much money as they thought that they would need. So I have a few tips for this. First of all, reduce the sinking funds, prioritize. And you can prioritize in two ways. One is if you have a car or home, those are pretty important sinking funds. I would say that those are probably more important than like an Amazon Prime renewal. I won't say it's more important than a Costco membership, because if you have a big family and you shop at Costco often, you may want to be saving for that. But emergency, I mean, this isn't an emergency fund, but those kinds of things like car and home maintenance, or even medical expenses. I have a medical expense one. If you have a pet, you may want a pet expense sinking fund. Those are pretty important ones because it's highly likely you're going to need them. Another important one is the holidays. If you spend money at the holidays, which I think most people do, that's something that you know is going to come. And so I would really write down all of the ideas. You can even do research. Maybe I'll put a list in the description of this video of different sinking fund ideas, but it's great to have all of the ideas. I would just definitely recommend prioritizing. in terms of importance. The other way that you can prioritize is in terms of time. So I'm filming this on February 28th. I do have a little bit of a holiday sinking fund because I have money left over from last year that I didn't end up spending, but I'm not contributing any further to that right now. I'm one person, I'm single. I buy for some friends, a little like family, my niece and nephew, but I don't need a big holiday budget. So I probably won't start putting money towards Hanukkah and Christmas until, I don't know, maybe July or August. I'll kind of reevaluate it. Or like my nephew's birthday. His birthday is in July. I don't need to put money aside for his birthday until June. It's not something that I need to put a few dollars every month for until I have the target amount. So prioritize in terms of time. If you think that maybe 3 or 4 months is enough for you to be able to contribute fully for the holidays, or that's really just for a sinking fund that you know when the date is, whether it's a membership renewal, a vacation, the holidays, things like that. That's a good way to prioritize in terms of, like I said, time, when you need them. So that's the best 2 ways, I think, to avoid the common sinking fund mistake of how to make a dent in any of the sinking funds. All right, the next challenge that I see people have with sinking funds is how to keep track of them, right? That's kind of a big one. It's like, how do I keep track of this and how do I figure it out and all of that? So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Everyone has a different way, but here's what works for me. I've been using sinking funds for 3 years, since 2018, and here's what works best. I have 2 bank accounts. They're 2 checking accounts within the same bank. And in one of the checking accounts, I keep pretty close to the minimum balance. I think the minimum balance is $100, and I keep $120 in there just in case there's some auto pay that I'm missing. So it's good to have a buffer. You really need to do whatever buffer you're comfortable with. I see people have buffers of up to $1,000, which for me personally isn't necessary, but you have to do what you're comfortable with. The other checking account is where I keep all of my sinking funds. So let's say, just for easy math right now, in the other checking account, I have $1,000. And then I know, because I've written it in my planner, that $50 of that is for clothes, and maybe $50 is for planning supplies, and $300 is for a medical expense, and I think I have a certain amount of money set aside for Go Wild. However your categories break down in terms of sinking funds, you have to have them listed somewhere so you know how much is each, because when you're looking at that account balance, again, for easy math, let's say it's $1,000, you want to know where that $1,000 breaks down to. And then here's how I use the sinking funds. So let's use car maintenance. If I need to go spend $100 on my car for some reason, there's 2 different ways that I do it. If I'm using cash, I will go to my 2 bank accounts online, since again, it's the same bank that does them. I'll transfer that $100 from my sinking fund account into my spending account, which again is my main bank account that's linked to my debit card. Then I update it in my budget, and then I go and spend the money if I'm using my debit card. The other way that I'll do it, and it's not that different, is if I wanted to, I think I said if I was going to use cash. Whether I use cash or my debit card, it's the same process. I move the money from one account to the other, I update my budget, and I use the money. So whether I swipe my debit card or I withdraw the cash, I just move the money and I keep it updated. I've seen that some people use banks that they can have one specific debit card or like account for every single sinking fund. I don't have that many sinking funds where I need to do that. And this is the simplest way for me. The other thing that it does that I don't think about as much anymore, but early on it was like definitely a psychological thing, is let's say you're looking at, I don't know, happyplanner.com and you want to spend a certain amount of money. There's a few steps that I would need to take if I want to go spend that money. I have to open my bank account. I have to open my planner. I have to see how much money I have saved, move that money over, and then update my planner if I want to spend it. Sometimes that whole process, if you're disciplined, may stop you from spending the money. I'm not saying don't spend money on planner supplies or spend your money how you want to spend it, of course. Always spend your money the way you want to spend it if it's within your budgeting goals. But the steps, it's not just like the swipe of a credit card, right? The steps to go about spending that money, again, if you're disciplined, it's those steps may stop you and may say, do I want to spend this money? So that's how I use it. The other way is how I keep track of them. So I have in my Etsy shop, let me pull some of these out. I have some half sheet savings trackers. So here I have a couple of different types. These are savings jars where you can fill in what it's for, the amount, how much you've saved, how much you've spent. I also have, here's a blank one. So this is what I used to use before I made them myself, but these are little circles. So it's like saving jar. Let's say for I don't know, Christmas or Hanukkah, you want to save $500. I don't remember how many of these are in here, but you would just divide it and then you would write what each of these circles equals and kind of fill it up as you go. And I think I probably have some other ones since I first printed these out, but filling them out in my planner like this has a couple of purposes. Number one, it's fun. It's fun to be like, oh, I saved this much money. Let me go and fill this out. Because as a planner, I like being able to write things down and use color and stickers and make it decorative. The other part of it is that I can just look through these and know exactly how much money I have saved for any area of my life. So I have a link to my Etsy shop below. If you use coupon code FinanceFriday, you will get a discount on all items in my Etsy shop. They're all budgeting printables for your Happy Planner, although you could probably use them with any planner. You just wouldn't be punching them for Happy Planner. All right, now the final thing I want to talk about is just telling you what my top sinking funds are right now, February 28th, that I'm using in case it may give you some ideas about where you would like to start. So here are mine. I have a car fund. Now this is kind of a combination of a car and car maintenance and car costs. I lease a car and my lease ends in 2 months and I know that I'm going to need to put money down for when I get a new car. Whether I buy or lease, I'm going to need to put money down. So right now it's a combination of those two and I'm pushing as hard as I can on that fund because I just have, I have 2 months left, so I'm pushing hard on that. Another one is a medical fund. This is medical and dental sort of combined. You could do a medical one and a dental one separately, but I tend to need a lot of dental work, fingers crossed to happen in a while, and that can be really expensive. So I try to put aside money every month for medical and dental care for when I need that, because of course we have no idea when that stuff is going to come. I also have a sinking fund for Go Wild. Go Wild was supposed to, it's a planner conference. It was supposed to be in April of 2020. And of course, because of COVID, it was pushed and it's now June of 2021. We don't know yet if it's going to happen or not, but I originally saved the specific amount of money that I needed for the original Go Wild. When it got postponed to this year, I decided that I was going to take all the money I saved and put it in my emergency fund because I felt that I had a whole other year, and more than a year, to save that money again, and it was better living in my emergency fund than in like a Go Wild fund that I knew I wasn't going to need for a long time. So I kind of started over and I'm almost finished with that one. The other one is a home fund. This is for my apartment. I don't put a lot in there because my apartment is pretty much done, but there are a couple of other things like curtains that I would like to get for the bedroom and just some decor. So I put a little bit of money into an apartment sinking fund so that when there is something that I want that I've been thinking about and I, look at different prices and reviews and all of that, I have that money ready and it's dedicated specifically for my apartment. And again, the other one I mentioned is for the holidays of 2021. Even though I'm not actively contributing to it right now, I still have the money from last year. And then I think the last one I'm doing right now is electric. So I've been in my apartment for 2 months. I don't know what my electric bill is going to be yet. After the first month that I lived here, when the day was supposed to be that there was a meter reading, we had a snowstorm. So instead of reading the meter, the electric company just estimated what it would be. I don't know if they estimated it based on the month before when I wasn't living here, or if they estimated it based on the prior January and what that cost was. But again, the person who lived here before me, like, I don't know what their habits were. I work from home, I film at home, I'm home most of the time, so I'm using a decent amount of electricity. I think tomorrow or the next day from when I'm filming this is when my meter will be read, and so I'll have a better idea of that. So the reason that I'm saving for electric bills are because in the winter they're going to be lower. I don't pay for heat, so I only pay for electricity. But in the summer, I have 2 air conditioners, one in my living room and one in my bedroom. I know that those bills are going to be higher. So each month, I'm budgeting a certain amount of money for electric, even though I'm not using it all. So that when the summer months come and it's hotter, I live in New Jersey, it gets pretty hot in the summer, I won't be like bombarded by that bill. Now, this is a new kind of thing for me because in my old apartment, I lived there for 6 years. After the first 6 months or 1 year, I don't remember exactly, the electric company was able to do what's called an equal payment plan, where they averaged out the last 12 months of my electric so that every single month my bill was exactly the same. And then at the end of the year, if I used more, I would get a bill for the difference, or if I used less, I would get a credit for the difference. I really loved that because I knew every single month what my electric bill was going to be for 6 years. So if that's not something you do, I highly recommend you reach out to your electric company and see if they have something similar, because it's really wonderful to be able to know what all of your bills are going to be in advance. Once I live here for a certain amount of time, hopefully it will be the same, but the way that I can prepare, because again, a budget is all about preparing, is knowing that as the hotter months come, my bill is going to be higher, so now when it's colder, I may as well just continue to put some of that money aside. Okay, and that's a wrap on today's chat about sinking funds. Please do let me know in the comments if you have any questions or if there's something that you want me to cover budgeting-wise that I haven't covered yet. And if you'd like to see more of these videos, because I think they're fun. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, please do take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. This was, again, a lot of fun, and I will see you next time.